Everyone laughed when I said a $2 coin could someday make millionaires. But history keeps its receipts and XRPs are jaw-dropping. So picture this. You're sipping your morning coffee, your phone buzzes, and the first headline that you see is somebody boldly predicting XRP at $1,000 a coin. Your thumb hovers over the screen because, come on, that sounds like someone just added 3 extra zeros for the fun of it. But then another notification pops up, reminding you that back in 2017, 0.5 of a cent token exploded almost 7,000% in less than a year. Suddenly, that $1,000 claim feels less like science fiction and more like one of those, hey, it happened once, deja vu moments. And that's kind of what we're unpacking today, right? Could lightning strike twice? Or is this just another crypto campfire story that keeps us warm at night? Okay, so let me take you back to the first time that I heard the phrase 68990%. I was sitting in a cramped studio apartment that doubled up as my trading cave, plastered with sticky notes, price charts, and more empty coffee cups than I'd like to admit. A buddy barged in, waving his phone like a winning lottery ticket. Dude, XRP went from 0.5 cent to almost $4. I blinked, refreshed my chart, and thought his Wi-Fi had just been broken. Spoiler, it wasn't, right? Over 9 ridiculous months, right? A coin most people couldn't pronounce catapulted itself from the bargain bin to the front page of every crypto blog. That single move minted overnight believers and, gave skeptics permanent jaw pain from all the dropping. Fast forward to today, and XRP's been stuck in what feels like crypto limbo. Call it the polite purgatory between just pushing $2 and sorry, can't get past 3. Now, bulls charge whatever, whenever we sniff $3. Bears claw it down when it grazes $1.60. And after months of tug of war, the price is camping at around the $2.50 level. Kind of like a college kid living off instant noodles. Now, it's the kind of sideways motion that turns day traders into yogis, right? Lots of stretching and very little actual movement. Enter Barry C., an analyst who apparently moonlights as a hype DJ. Now, he looks at the 2017 chart like it's a mixtape of the greatest hits and declares, hey, if we did 68,990% once, what's stopping 45,982% now? The translation? $2 today could, emphasize on could, morph into a $1,000 juggernaut tomorrow. Cue the dramatic sound effect. I actually don't have any, so there's nothing here. And of course, right, as soon as someone drops a headline that spicy, the internet brings out its calculator brigade. Critics point to the math like neon arrows. At $1,000 per token, XRP's market cap would balloon to $99 trillion. To put that into perspective, that's roughly 4 times every single bar of gold ever pulled out of the earth, right? Stacked end to end until even Scrooge McDuck has a panic attack. Now, Finance Pro, Sonny, didn't even mince his words. He called anyone cheering for $100 XRP mentally disabled. Now, that's pretty harsh, blunt, but it spotlights the main challenge, scale. And yet, Barry C., shrugging off the disbelief like a kid telling his parents that yes, he can absolutely eat 10 scoops of ice cream because he's done it before. His thesis is pretty simple. Most outrageous things feel impossible right up until the moment that someone does them. Now, the 4-minute mile, the Wright brothers, streaming every song ever made from a, rectangle in your pocket, right? Pick your miracle. I mean, there was a time when people said YouTube isn't a career, and here we are today. Now, XRP's 2017 leap was one of those watch me moments, and Barry C believes the encore is only a matter of time. Okay, let's zoom out, in fact, actually zoom in on the original run, because it holds clues here. Right? At the start of March 2017, XRP lounged at a sleepy, well, 0.0055 cents, right? Basically the spare change under the couch cushion, right? And in that very month, it tripled 284%, like it realized that the party had started without it. By May, it was flirting with 40 cents. Then it chilled out, caught its breath, and consolidated through 6 long months while everyone else chased newer, shiny coins. So think of it like a marathon runner who sprints, slows to a jog, then unleashes a final frenzy when spectators think that they're tapped out. November hit. The engines roared back to life, and by January of 2018, XRP slammed into its all-time high at $3.80. Now that's an eye-watering 68,990% in roughly 270 days. Now, if you bought $100 worth at the start, you'd be sitting on 69 grand at the top, enough to fund a couple of world cruises, fancy sunscreen included. Now, anyone who surfed a crypto wave knows past performance is the unreliable time machine of finance, right? Conditions change, regulations evolve, crowd psychology matures faster than fashion trends, and yet we humans love patterns. So we stare at charts like ancient sailors reading, constellations, hoping history's rhyme tips us off to the next big swell so that we can paddle out early. But here's the wrinkle. Market cap math. Now at $3.80 back then, XRP's fully diluted market cap brushed past $370 billion. It's mind-boggling yet still earthbound. But at $1,000 per coin, we're kind of talking about nearly $100 trillion. That's enough to buy Tesla 7 times over, pay off everyone's student loans, and still have pocket change for a fleet of space yachts. Realistic? Probably not tomorrow morning. Impossible forever? Well, that's where opinions splinter like driftwood. And it's also very important to understand that this skeptical debate around market cap is, well, quite nonsensical. Right? Market cap is just a byproduct of price. It doesn't limit price action after all, right? Let's think about the mechanics here, right? Market cap is calculated by taking the price and multiplying it by the supply, right? Sounds pretty basic, and that's because it is. So what does it actually show us? It actually just shows us macro level pricing. It shows us that if we were to take the price of every single XRP token and multiply it by the total amount of XRP, well, we end up with that macro level pricing. So what does it not show us? Well, it doesn't show us liquidity. It doesn't show us capital inflows. In fact, it doesn't show us anything meaningful whatsoever. And yet still, it comes up as a big barrier. It's important to understand that if the price is what dictates the market cap, how can the market cap be a barrier to price discovery? It can't. So it's food for thought. And if you want to know more about this, join us in our free Discord server. But let's go ahead and assume that there's a kind of argument here. Why does this debate matter so much? Well, because it exposes the tension between potential and possibility, right? Crypto thrives on what if, and what if decentralized finance unlocks trillions of dormant value, right? But what if blockchain reshapes cross-border payments, carbon markets, real estate deeds? XRP by design targets the global remittance industry, swapping, clunky Swift wires for near instant settlements. In theory, solving that plumbing problem, taps a multi-trillion-dollar river. Now, if enough volume flows through the network, price follows utility like night chases day. But let's keep everything grounded, right? Even Matthew, the COO of CryptoGuard, who sees a $100 to $1,000 range, describes the timeline as a decade-long hike, not a weekend sprint. Right? And that's a kind of key nuance here, right? Barry C isn't shouting tomorrow. He's whispering eventually. And that softer tone keeps hope glimmering without sounding like late night, infomercial hype. Okay, so let's put yourself in the retail shoes. You stroll into the market today. XRP costs less than a cafe latte. And you remember that once upon a time, or a lunar cycle, it kind of 700x'd, right? Is it crazy to stash a little in the bottom drawer and forget about it? Maybe not, right? But, staking your kid's college fund on a move that requires the equivalent of 4 Earth's economies aligning perfectly, well, that's where due diligence becomes oxygen. Now, there are a lot of people, out there that kind of frame this as a binary equation. Either XRP rockets to the moon or it fizzles into regulatory quicksand. The reality, likes kind of gradients, if you will, right? Imagine a milder but still life-changing scenario. What if XRP hits $10? That's only a 360% gain from $2 something, right? The market cap leaps, but stays within the realm of, mega cap techs because, that keeps the skeptics, I guess, out of the loony bin, right? Suddenly, those kind of predictions, critics, they kind of mocked as kind of mentally disabled, actually don't sound that far-fetched, right? They actually just need smaller, more digestible numbers, because they can't quite comprehend, thousands of percent in gains. Here is my personal experience kind of sneaks back into the story, right? I've held coins that 10x'd without a single warning, and I've clutched bags that kind of sank faster than my Wi-Fi during a storm. Now, sentiment swings are wild animals. If you can't tame them, you at least need to respect their teeth. Now, the golden rule is quite simple. Position size like you're wrong, but dream like you're right. Now, Barry C's $1,000 target said dream, right? The numbers arguing against it are, well, your safety rail. There's also a narrative factor, right? Crypto is one of, half technology and one half mythology, right? Bitcoin has the digital gold story, Ethereum, the world computer, XRP, tail, centers on banks, bridges, and seamless liquidity. If in the next few years, major financial institutions fully embrace that narrative, think central bank digital currencies settling through XRP corridors, well, the psychological ceiling on price could inch higher than calculators currently allow. But of course, we would be very naive to ignore the roadblocks. Right? The SEC case may be mostly settled, but regulatory clouds still kind of drizzle on the parade days. Right? Market cycles chop enthusiasm. Whales play a whack-a-mole with, eager retail pumps. Then there's plain old competition. Stablecoins on lightning-fast chains might actually gobble up XRP's lunch if they don't scale faster. And here's the punchy climax. History's most ridiculous rallies always started with someone rolling their eyes. Tesla at $1 trillion, eye roll. Bitcoin over 20 grand, eye roll with a bonus scoff. An iPhone without a keyboard, eye roll plus a sarcastic good luck. But early believers banked life-changing wins, right? The lesson isn't to chase every wild forecast. It's to stay curious enough that you don't miss the once-in-a-while phenomenon while hiding behind the ridicule. Right? XRP's 2017 miracle is proof that today's impossible can become tomorrow's obvious. So under the kind of perfect cocktail of timing, tech, and irrational exuberance. So where does that leave us? With a coin cruising around $2, an army of holders, replaying that 2017 highlight reel on loop, and a giant neon question mark hanging over the figure $1,000. Could it happen? Well, mathematically absurd may be, but not, mathematically illegal, right? If you decide to dip your toes, treat it like a moonshot, not a kind of bank bond. Diversify, set alerts, practice mindfulness, because volatility doesn't care about your bedtime. And hey, if you want to swap theories, analyze whale wallets, or laugh about our collective crypto insomnia, jump into our free crypto Discord server. There's a link in the description down below. That place is basically a 24/7 coffee shop where chart geeks, meme lords, and cautious optimists hang out, and the door is always open. Okay, and before we bounce, remember, fortune favors the informed, not the reckless. Study the past, question the rosy predictions, embrace calculated risk, and keep a towel handy for the next tidal wave. Because whether or not XRP sees a comma inside 3 zeros, the journey will spill plenty of popcorn.